The morning sun rose over the green fields of Kepler 442b, painting the sky in soft orange and pink colors. Hyun-woo walked slowly between the rows of tall corn plants, checking each one carefully. The plants grew much bigger here than they did on Earth. The soil was rich and dark, perfect for growing food. His wife Gina worked nearby in the vegetable garden. She pulled weeds from around the tomato plants and watered the small seedlings. Their hands were dirty from the soil, and sweat ran down their faces from the hard work. This was their life now. Simple farming on a distant planet. "The corn looks good this year," Hyun-woo called to his wife. "We might get twice as much as last season." Gina smiled and wiped her hands on her work clothes. "The new seeds from Earth are working well. The research team did a good job making them grow in our soil." Around them, other farmers worked in their own fields. The human colony spread across a wide valley between two small mountains. About 5,000 people lived here, all focused on growing food to send back to Earth and other human worlds. Their houses were simple and made from local wood and stone. Gardens and small farms filled the spaces between buildings. At the center of the colony stood several larger buildings. One was the research center, where scientists worked to make better seeds and find new ways to grow crops. Another building housed the communications equipment that kept them connected to other human worlds. The medical center took care of anyone who got sick or hurt while working. Tae-jin worked in the administration building, dealing with visitors from other planets. As the colony's main contact with alien species, he spent most days writing reports and talking on the communication system. His office was small and plain, with just a desk, chair, and computer terminal. "Another trade ship wants to stop here next month," Tae-jin told his assistant while reading messages on his screen. "They want to buy grain and vegetables. I told them we can spare some of our extra harvest." The assistant nodded and made notes. "The captain asked if we have any weapons or military equipment to trade. I told him we only grow food here." Tae-jin smiled. "That's right. We're just farmers trying to make a living. We don't have anything else to offer." This was true, as far as anyone could see. The colony had no military bases, no weapon factories, and no soldiers marching around in uniforms. Visitors saw farmers working in fields, scientists studying plants in laboratories, and families living quiet lives. The most dangerous tools anyone carried were farming equipment like shovels and pruning shears. The Galactic Trade Council listed Kepler 442b as a Class 3 agricultural world in their official records. This meant it was a small farming settlement with no strategic importance. Many alien species knew about the human colony, but none considered it worth much attention. Humans were still new to space travel compared to older alien civilizations. Min-ho spent his days in the communications center, monitoring radio signals from across the galaxy. His job was to track weather patterns, coordinate supply ships, and maintain contact with Earth. The equipment filled a medium-sized room with screens, computers, and radio devices. Everything looked standard for a farming colony. Signal coming. "In from the transport ship," Min-ho announced to his team. "They'll arrive in 3 days with supplies from Earth." His co-workers prepared lists of what the colony needed: more seeds, medical supplies, equipment parts, and personal items for the families. They also prepared lists of what they could send back: grain, vegetables, research data, and soil samples. The transport ships came every few months, bringing necessary supplies and taking agricultural products back to human space. The ships were large cargo vessels built for carrying food, Rather than weapons, their crews were friendly merchants and transport workers, not soldiers. During his lunch break, Hyun-woo walked to the small cafe where colonists gathered to eat and talk. The building was simple but comfortable, with wooden tables and chairs, made by local craftsmen. Gina had prepared soup and bread for everyone, using vegetables from their gardens. "Did you hear about the problems in the Centauri system?" asked one of the farmers. "Some kind of dispute between the big alien governments." "Nothing that affects us," replied another colonist. "We're too far from the main trade routes. They probably don't even remember we exist out here." Hyun-woo listened while eating his soup. The galaxy was a big place with many different species and governments. Humans controlled only a small part of space, mostly systems close to Earth. They tried to stay friendly with everyone and avoid getting involved in other species' conflicts. "We're lucky to have found such a peaceful corner of space," Gina said, sitting down next to her husband. "The soil is good, the weather is mild, and nobody bothers us." After lunch, Hyun-woo visited the research center to check on some experimental crops. The building housed laboratories where scientists worked to develop better farming methods. They tested new types of seeds, studied soil conditions, and looked for ways to grow more food with less water and fertilizer. Da-yoon managed the research programs from her office on the second floor. She coordinated projects between different teams and planned future experiments. Her desk was covered with reports about crop yields, soil analysis, and weather data. "The new potato variety is showing good results," she told Hyun-woo while reviewing test results. "We might be able to grow them in areas with less rainfall." "That would help the colonists on Tau Ceti," Hyun-woo replied. "Their growing season is shorter because of the climate." The research center also housed the colony's main computer systems and data storage. Scientists used these computers to analyze their experiments and communicate with researchers on other worlds. The equipment was more advanced than what most farming colonies needed, but Earth had sent good technology to help the research programs succeed. As evening approached, Hyun-woo and Gina returned to their small house at the edge of the colony. Their daughter Yoo-jin was visiting from Earth, where she had recently finished her studies at the Agricultural Academy. She helped her parents prepare dinner using fresh vegetables from their garden. "How are your studies going?" Hyun-woo asked his daughter while they cooked together. "Very well," Yoo-jin replied, cutting vegetables for the salad. "I learned a lot about advanced farming techniques and crop management systems. My professors said I have a good understanding of precision agriculture methods." "Will you stay here and work with us?" Gina asked hopefully. Yoo-jin smiled but looked thoughtful. "I might stay for a while. There are some interesting projects here that could use my skills. The research team is working on some fascinating applications." They ate dinner on their small porch, watching the sun set behind the mountains. The colony was quiet except for the soft sounds of insects and small animals. Lights began to turn on in houses across the valley as families settled in for the evening. "This is a good life," Hyun-woo said, holding his wife's hand. "Simple and peaceful," Gina nodded, but noticed her daughter looking up at the stars with a serious expression. Yoo-jin seemed to be thinking about something important, but she didn't share what was on her mind. The night was clear and calm. Most colonists went to bed early because farm work started before sunrise. Guards took turns watching the communications center and research buildings, but their job was easy. Nothing dangerous ever happened on Kepler 442b. In his final report of the day, Tae-jin wrote about the colony's continued success. Crop yields were up, the colonists were healthy and happy, and relationships with visiting alien traders remained friendly. He noted that several alien species had expressed interest in buying more agricultural products. Everything seemed perfect in their small corner of the galaxy. The humans of Kepler 442b appeared to be exactly what they claimed to be. Peaceful farmers working hard to grow food and build a better life far from Earth. Minho noticed the first strange signals 3 weeks after Yujin's arrival. He was monitoring routine communications when his equipment picked up unusual radio traffic from distant star systems. The signals were encoded military messages, but they were being broadcast on frequencies normally used for civilian communications. "Something big is happening out there," he told his supervisor while adjusting the radio equipment. "I'm getting military chatter from at least 6 different systems." His supervisor frowned and looked at the data streaming across the computer screens. "Can you decode any of it?" "Some of it," Minho replied, typing commands into his computer. "It looks like the Vorthon Empire and the Kalani Federation are mobilizing their fleets. Both sides are calling in ships from across their territories. The Vorthon Empire controlled a large section of space in the galactic north. They were known for their powerful military and aggressive expansion policies. Their ships were heavily armed and their soldiers were trained from birth to fight. Most other species avoided conflicts with the Vorthons when possible. The Kalani Federation occupied territory in the galactic east. They preferred advanced technology over brute force, building ships with sophisticated weapons and defensive systems. Their scientists had developed some of the most powerful energy weapons in known space. They usually stayed neutral in other species' conflicts. Why would those two be fighting? Minho wondered aloud. They've avoided each other for decades. Maybe it's just military exercises, his supervisor suggested, but he didn't sound convinced. Over the next few days, the signals became stronger and more frequent. Minho tracked fleet movements as both sides moved hundreds of ships toward their shared border. Supply convoys rushed to forward bases while military commanders sent urgent messages to their home governments. Hyunwoo learned about the situation when Tai-Jin called a meeting for all department heads. They gathered in the administration building's main conference room, sitting around a simple wooden table. Tai-Jin looked worried as he shared what the communications team had discovered. "We're tracking a major military buildup between the Vorthon Empire and the Kalani Federation," Tai-Jin explained, showing star charts on the wall screen. "Both sides have moved over 1,000 ships to the border region." Da-Un studied the charts carefully. "That's a significant force deployment. Are they planning a war?" "It looks that way," Tai-Jin replied. "Our sources in the galactic trade council say both governments have stopped all diplomatic contact. Trade ships are being ordered away from the border systems." Jae-ho, who managed the colony's equipment and maintenance, pointed to a section of the star chart. "How close is the conflict zone to our position?" Tai-Jin highlighted several star systems with red markers. "About 40 light-years from here. Not immediately dangerous, but if the war spreads, we could be in the path of fleet movements." The meeting participants looked at each other with concern. Their peaceful farming colony was far from any major trade routes or strategic locations, but wars had a way of expanding beyond their original boundaries. "Should we contact Earth for instructions?" asked So Young, the colony's head scientist. "I've already sent a message," Tai-Jin replied. "But Earth is over 200 light-years away. Even with faster-than-light communication, it will take weeks to get a response." 3 days later, the war began. Minho was monitoring communications when he detected the first battle reports. The initial fighting took place in the Zerion system, where Vorthon and Kalani fleets met in space above an uninhabited planet. First battle just ended. Minho announced to his team. Vorthon victory, but both sides took heavy losses. Reports indicate over 50 ships destroyed. The news spread quickly through the colony. Families gathered around their radio sets to listen to updates from galactic news services. The reports painted a picture of devastating destruction as the two most powerful military forces in the galaxy clashed with unprecedented violence. Within a week, the war had spread to 4 different star systems. Both sides brought in reinforcements and began using increasingly powerful weapons. Entire planets were evacuated as fleet battles raged in nearby space. The destruction was unlike anything seen in recent galactic history. Latest reports from the war zone, Minho read from his computer screen during the daily briefing. The Kalani used something called a quantum disruptor against a Vorthon fleet. It completely destroyed 15 ships in seconds. And the Vorthons responded with kinetic bombardment of a Kalani supply base, added his assistant. The weapons turned the entire asteroid into dust. Hyunwoo listened to these reports with growing unease. He had served in Earth's military before, becoming a farmer, and he understood how quickly wars could spiral out of control. What started as a border dispute could easily become a galaxy-wide conflict. "We need to prepare for refugees," he suggested during another colony meeting. "If the war spreads, civilian populations will need places to go." Da-un nodded in agreement. "We have extra housing and plenty of food production capacity. We could support several thousand additional people if necessary." But Tae-jin looked doubtful. "Both the Vorthons and Kalani see humans as a minor species. They might not trust us to remain neutral. Some of their leaders consider all other species to be potential enemies." The war continued to escalate. After all 2 weeks of fighting, the death toll had reached millions. Entire space stations were destroyed, and several colony worlds were abandoned as the fighting approached their systems. Neither side showed any interest in negotiation or compromise. "The scale of this conflict is incredible," So Young observed while reviewing casualty reports. "They're using weapons that can destroy planets. How can anyone hope to survive this kind of warfare?" Yujin had been quietly following the war reports, but she rarely commented on the situation. When she did speak, her observations were unusually detailed for someone who supposedly studied agriculture. "The Vorthon fleet composition suggests they're planning a major offensive," she said during one discussion. "They've concentrated heavy cruisers and assault carriers in 3 main groups, classic preparation for a multi-system invasion." Her parents looked at her with surprise. "How do you know so much about military tactics?" Gina asked. Yujin paused for a moment before answering. "We studied resource allocation and logistics management at the academy. Military operations require similar planning to large-scale agricultural projects." The explanation made sense, but Hyunwoo noticed his daughter seemed to know more about fleet movements and battle tactics than most civilian analysts. As the war entered its 3rd week, both sides began expanding their recruitment efforts. The Vorthans started demanding tribute and military support from smaller species in their territory. The Kalani offered protection agreements to independent worlds in exchange for base rights and resources. "They're both preparing for a long conflict," Tae-jin reported during the daily briefing. "Intelligence sources suggest this could last for years." The possibility of a prolonged war worried everyone in the colony. Their peaceful existence depended on stable trade relationships and galactic peace. A major war could disrupt supply lines, cut off communication with Earth, and potentially bring violence to their quiet corner of space. "We should consider evacuation options," suggested Dong-min, who manage the colony's livestock and food distribution. If the fighting comes this way, we might need to leave quickly. But where could they go? Earth was too far away, and most other human colonies were smaller and less well-equipped than Kepler 442b. Their world had become home to 5,000 people who had invested years of work in building their farms and research facilities. "Let's not panic yet," Daun advised. "We're still far from the combat zone. Both sides have bigger concerns than a small agricultural colony." However, Minho's latest intelligence reports were troubling. The war was spreading faster than anyone had predicted. New battle zones were opening up as both sides tried to gain strategic advantages. Some military analysts predicted the conflict would eventually involve every major species in the galaxy. "The trajectory of expansion is concerning," Minho told the leadership team privately. "If current trends continue, we could see military activity in this region within months." That night, Hyunwoo and Gina discussed their options while walking through their garden. The crops were growing well, and the peaceful evening gave no hint of the destruction raging across distant star systems. "Should we start preparing to leave?" Gina asked, touching a ripe tomato. "Not yet," Hyunwoo replied, but his voice carried uncertainty. "This is our home now. We've worked too hard to abandon everything at the first sign of trouble." Above them, the stars looked the same as always, but somewhere among those distant points of light, the greatest war in galactic history was tearing apart civilizations and reshaping the balance of power across known space. The warning came at dawn on a Tuesday morning. Minho burst into the administration building while most colonists were still eating breakfast. His face was pale, and his hands shook as he delivered the news to Tai-Jin. "Vorthon ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of our system," Minho reported breathlessly. "Long-range sensors show at least 20 vessels, including several heavy cruisers." Tai-Jin immediately activated the colony's emergency communication system. Warning alarms echoed across the valley as colonists stopped their morning routines and gathered at designated meeting points. Children looked scared while their parents tried to remain calm. "This is not a drill," Tai-Jin announced over the public address system. "We have visitors approaching our world. Please remain calm and follow standard protocols." Hyunwoo was checking his corn plants when the alarm started. He quickly returned to the colony center, where Ji-na was helping organize the children into groups. Yujin stood nearby, but her expression seemed more alert than frightened. "How long until they reach the planet?" Hyunwoo asked Minho. "About 6 hours at their current speed," Minho replied, checking his portable communication device. "They're not rushing, which might be a good sign." Dayun emerged from the research center with several of her scientists. She carried a data tablet and seemed surprisingly composed for someone facing their first encounter with an alien military force. "We need to prepare a proper welcome," she said to the group of colony leaders. "These might be refugees fleeing the war zone. They could need food and medical assistance." But as the hours passed, it became clear this was not a refugee fleet. The Vorthon ships moved in perfect military formation and conducted systematic scans of the entire system. Their behavior suggested a scouting mission rather than a request for humanitarian aid. "They're mapping everything," Minho reported from the communications center. "Planetary defenses, population centers, resource locations. This is a standard military reconnaissance pattern." Jeho had spent the morning conducting what he called routine maintenance on various pieces of equipment around the colony. He checked storage facilities, tested communication systems, and inspected several large machines that most colonists assumed were farming equipment. "Everything's running smoothly," he reported to Dayun. "All systems are ready for whatever comes next." By midday, the Vorthan fleet had established orbit around Kepler 442b. Their ships were massive, dark shapes that blocked sunlight as they passed overhead. The largest vessel was over 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapon ports and sensor arrays. The first communication from the Vorthans came in the early afternoon. A harsh alien voice spoke through the colony's main communication system, using mechanical translation equipment that made the words sound cold and threatening. "Human settlement," the voice announced. "This is Commander Thrak of the Vorthan Imperial Fleet. You will prepare to receive our representatives immediately." Tae-Jin responded with careful diplomatic language. "Welcome to Kepler 442b, Commander Thrak. We are a peaceful agricultural colony. How may we assist you?" "You will assist by choosing sides," the alien commander replied bluntly. "The galaxy is at war. Neutrality is no longer an option." 3 Vorthan shuttles descended from the orbiting fleet and landed in the main plaza at the center of the colony. The shuttles were angular black vehicles with weapon turrets and thick armor plating. They looked like they were built for combat, rather than peaceful transportation. Vorthan soldiers emerged from the shuttles, wearing full battle armor and carrying energy weapons. They were tall, humanoid creatures with gray skin and 4 arms, moving with military precision as they secured the landing area. Their armor was covered with sensors and communication equipment. Commander Thrak was the last to leave his shuttle. He stood nearly 3 meters tall and wore more elaborate armor decorated with rank insignia and battle honors. His 4 eyes scanned the gathered colonists with obvious contempt. "So these are the famous humans," he said in accented Standard Galactic. "Smaller than I expected." Tae-Jin stepped forward to represent the colony. He wore his best civilian clothes and carried no weapons, presenting himself as a harmless administrator rather than any kind of threat. "Commander, we welcome you to our world," Tae-Jin said politely. "We hope you'll accept our hospitality during your visit." The Vorthan commander ignored the greeting and gestured toward his soldiers. They immediately began setting up scanning, equipment and communication devices, clearly preparing for an extended occupation rather than a brief visit. "Your hospitality is irrelevant," Commander Thrak stated. "We require information about your defensive capabilities and military resources." "I'm afraid we don't have any military resources," Tae-Jin replied honestly. "We're a farming community focused on agricultural research and food production." The alien commander's expression suggested he found this claim ridiculous. "All species have military capabilities. You will provide complete information about your weapons, fortifications, and combat personnel." Daeyeon joined the conversation, speaking in the calm tone she used when explaining complex research projects. "Commander, I can show you our facilities if that would help. You'll see we only have farming equipment and research laboratories." "You will show us everything," the commander demanded. "My specialists will conduct a complete survey of your colony and surrounding territory." Over the next several hours, Vorthan soldiers spread throughout the colony. They examined buildings, questioned colonists, and scanned equipment with their advanced sensors. The aliens seemed disappointed by what they found: simple farms, basic research facilities, and peaceful families. "This is exactly what it appears to be," one Vorthan officer reported to his commander. "A primitive agricultural settlement with no strategic value." But Commander Thrak was not satisfied with surface appearances. "Continue the investigation. These humans might be hiding their true capabilities." During the inspection, Jae-ho guided a group of Vorthon soldiers through the equipment storage areas. The aliens examined tractors, harvesters, and other farming machinery with their scanning devices. "What is the purpose of this device?" one soldier asked, pointing to a large machine with multiple attachments. "It's a multi-purpose harvester," Jeho explained patiently. "We use it to gather crops from different types of plants. The attachments can be changed depending on what we're harvesting." The soldier's scanner detected complex internal mechanisms, but the readings matched those of sophisticated farming equipment. The Vorthens found nothing that looked like weapons or military hardware. Yujin observed the inspection process with quiet interest. When questioned about her background, she explained her recent graduation from Earth's Agricultural Academy and her specialization in precision farming techniques. "What kind of precision techniques?" asked the Vorthon intelligence officer. "Resource optimization and distribution management," Yujin replied. "We study how to deliver nutrients and treatments to crops with maximum efficiency and minimal waste." The alien seemed satisfied with this explanation and moved on to question other colonists. As evening approached, Commander Thrak gathered his officers to discuss their findings. The humans were allowed to return to their normal activities, but Vorthan guards remained posted throughout the colony. "Assessment complete," the intelligence officer reported. "No military installations detected. No weapons manufacturing. No evidence of strategic planning or combat preparations. The humans appear to be exactly what they claim." Commander Thrak looked frustrated. "Very well, but they still must choose a side in the war. Neutrality will not protect them when the fighting spreads." That night, the Vorthon commander addressed the assembled colonists in the main plaza. His words carried the threat of overwhelming force from the fleet orbiting above their heads. "Humans of Kepler 442b, he announced. "You have 24 hours to decide your allegiance. You will either join the Vorthon Empire as tribute-paying subjects, or you will be classified as enemies and dealt with accordingly." "What happens if we choose to remain neutral?" Tae-Jin asked carefully. "Neutrality is not an option," the commander replied coldly. "Every species must choose sides. Those who refuse to choose will be considered enemies of the Empire." The implied threat was clear. The Vorthon fleet could destroy the entire colony within minutes if the humans refused to cooperate. Commander Thrak had made similar ultimatums to dozens of other worlds, and most had quickly agreed to pay tribute rather than face annihilation. "We need time to consider your offer," Tae-Jin said diplomatically. "You have until tomorrow evening," the commander stated. "Choose wisely. The Vorthon Empire does not make threats lightly." As the aliens returned to their shuttles for the night, the colonists gathered in small groups to discuss their impossible situation. They could submit to Vorthon rule and hope for reasonable treatment, or they could face destruction by one of the galaxy's most powerful military forces. "What choice do we have?" one farmer asked quietly. "We can't fight them." But Hyunwoo noticed that Da-un, Jae-ho, and several other colony leaders seemed less worried than the others. They spoke in quiet voices and occasionally glanced toward the research center and equipment storage areas. "Don't worry," Da-un told the worried colonists. "We'll find a solution to this problem." Her confidence ceased. The deadline was 18 hours away when Hyunwoo noticed the first strange activities. He was walking past the research center just after sunrise when he saw So Young leaving the building carrying equipment that didn't look like anything used for plant research. "Working early today?" he asked his colleague. So Young paused and smiled, but her expression seemed different than usual. "Just checking some experimental monitoring systems. We need to make sure our data collection continues regardless of what happens." She continued toward a group of structures that most colonists believed were weather monitoring stations. Hyunwoo watched as she connected her equipment to what appeared to be a standard atmospheric sensor, but the device she attached looked far more complex than anything needed to measure wind speed or humidity. Later that morning, Dong-min was seen making unusual rounds of the livestock areas. Instead of his normal feeding and care routines, he spent time at facilities that had been built underground. Most colonists assumed these were storage areas for animal feed and farming supplies. "The underground storage needs maintenance," Dong-min explained when questioned by curious neighbors. "We want to make sure all our resources are properly secured." But Hyunwoo noticed that the equipment Dong-min carried included electronic devices and communication gear rather than standard farming tools. The livestock manager seemed to be conducting some kind of technical inspection rather than routine maintenance. Yoo-jin spent most of the day at the communications center, working with Minho on what she described as data analysis projects. When her parents asked about her activities, she explained that her agricultural training included courses on information management and resource coordination. "The academy taught us to use advanced computer systems," she told Gina. "Modern farming requires sophisticated data processing to optimize crop yields and resource allocation." This seemed reasonable, but Hyunwoo noticed his daughter was accessing communication systems and databases that appeared far more advanced than what a typical farming colony would need. The equipment she used looked more like military-grade communication gear than agricultural research tools. Throughout the day, various colonists were seen conducting activities that seemed slightly unusual for their normal jobs. Maintenance workers tested equipment in areas normally restricted to authorized personnel. Research scientists made frequent trips to storage facilities and communication centers. Even some of the farming families were checking on facilities that supposedly housed agricultural machinery. "Everyone seems very busy today," Gina observed during lunch. "You'd think people would be more worried about the deadline." "Maybe they're preparing for whatever decision the leadership makes," Hyunwoo replied. But he was starting to suspect there was more happening than simple preparation. That afternoon, Da-eun held what she called a routine staff meeting in the research center's main conference room. Most department heads attended, along with several specialists and technical workers. The meeting was closed to general colonists, which was unusual for a community that normally shared information openly. "We need to review our contingency plans," Da-eun announced to the assembled group. "Regardless of what decision we make about the Vorthen ultimatum, we should be prepared for various scenarios." Jae-ho presented a detailed analysis of the colony's systems and capabilities. His report covered much more than farming equipment and research facilities. He discussed communication networks, power systems, storage capabilities, and what he called resource distribution infrastructure. "All primary systems are operating at optimal levels," he reported. "Secondary systems are ready for activation if needed. Mobile units have been tested and are prepared for deployment." So Young added information about what she termed environmental monitoring networks. Her data included detailed scans of the surrounding area, atmospheric conditions, and what appeared to be tracking information about orbital objects. "Our monitoring coverage is complete," she stated. "We have real-time information about all activities within a 50-kilometer radius of the colony. Orbital tracking systems are providing continuous updates on visitorship positions and movement patterns." These capabilities seemed far beyond what a simple farming colony would need, but the meeting participants discussed them as if they were normal aspects of agricultural operations. Yujin contributed analysis that she described as logistics, optimization studies. Her presentation included detailed information about resource allocation, distribution efficiency, and what she called precision delivery systems. Current preparations allow for rapid reconfiguration of our operational parameters, she explained, using technical language that sounded more military than agricultural. We can implement alternative protocols within minutes if circumstances require different approaches. Minho provided intelligence reports about the broader galactic situation. His information included detailed tracking of fleet movements, communication, intercepts, and strategic analysis of ongoing military operations. The conflict continues to expand, he reported. Both major factions are deploying additional resources and extending their operational zones. Current projections suggest the war front will reach this region within 60 days unless the situation changes dramatically. The level of detail in his intelligence reports seemed remarkable for a communications officer at a farming colony. His analysis covered fleet compositions, battle tactics, and strategic planning that would normally require access to military intelligence networks. "What about the Kalani Federation?" asked one participant. "Are they likely to follow the Vorthons into this region?" "Highly probable," Minho replied. "Their current deployment pattern suggests they're planning to contest Vorthon expansion in this sector. We should expect Federation ships within weeks of any Vorthon occupation." As the meeting continued, Yunwoo began to realize that his colleagues possessed knowledge and capabilities that went far beyond simple farming and agricultural research. Their discussions covered topics that would normally be handled by military planners and intelligence analysts. "Implementation timeline?" Daun asked the group. "All systems can be activated within 15 minutes, Jeho replied. "Full operational capability available within 1 hour. Extended operations sustainable indefinitely using current resource reserves. Personnel readiness? All key personnel have completed their preparations," So Young reported. "Support teams are standing by for activation orders. Training protocols have been reviewed and updated." The meeting ended with what Daun called final systems checks. Each department head received specific instructions for activities to be completed before the Vorthon deadline. The assignments sounded like routine maintenance tasks, but the level of coordination suggested something much more complex. After the meeting, Hyun-woo tried to make sense of what he had observed. His colleagues were clearly preparing for something, but their preparations went far beyond anything needed to respond to the Vorthon ultimatum. That evening, he walked through the colony with Gina, looking more carefully at familiar buildings and equipment. Now that he was paying attention, he noticed details that had seemed normal before but might indicate hidden purposes. The research center was larger than needed for agricultural studies and contained equipment that seemed unusually sophisticated. The communications center had more antennas and dishes than required for routine contact with other worlds. Even the storage facilities appeared to be built with unusual attention to security and protection. "Have you noticed anything strange about our equipment lately?" he asked his wife. Gina considered the question carefully. "Some of the farming machinery seems more complex than what we used on Earth, and the research facilities have capabilities that seem advanced for a small colony." "I was thinking the same thing," Hyun-woo replied. "It's like everything here is designed to do more than what we use it for." They paused near one of the weather monitoring stations that So Young had visited that morning. Looking at it closely, Hyun-woo could see that the equipment was far more sophisticated than needed for simple atmospheric measurements. "That's not a weather station," he realized suddenly. "It's some kind of scanning array." Gina examined the device more carefully. "You're right. This looks like the sensor equipment the Vorthons were using during their inspection. As they continued their walk, they began to notice other equipment that seemed designed for purposes beyond agriculture. Communication arrays that could probably reach across multiple star systems. Power generators that produced far more energy than the colony appeared to use. Storage facilities that were built like defensive bunkers, rather than simple warehouses. What kind of farming colony needs all this? Gina wondered aloud. Maybe it's not just a farming colony, Hyun-woo replied quietly. That night, as they prepared for bed, Yujin joined her parents for tea on their small porch. She seemed calm despite the approaching deadline and the threat of Vorthon retaliation. Are you worried about tomorrow? Gina asked her daughter. Yujin smiled in a way that reminded Hyun-woo of Da-eun's confidence during the colony meetings. I don't think we need to worry as much as everyone believes. Why not? Hyun-woo asked. The Vorthons have enough firepower to destroy this entire world. They do, Yujin agreed. But sometimes things aren't as... The morning of the deadline brought unexpected complications. Minho detected new ships approaching the system while most colonists were eating breakfast. His urgent announcement echoed through the colony's communication system. Multiple vessels, dropping out of faster-than-light travel, he reported to the emergency meeting of colony leaders. Configuration and energy signatures match Kalani Federation fleet patterns. Tae-jin looked at the tactical display with growing concern. How many ships? Initial count shows 18 vessels, Minho replied, adjusting his monitoring equipment, including what appears to be a command carrier and several heavy cruisers. They're moving to intercept the Vorthon fleet. The situation had just become much more dangerous. Instead of facing pressure from one alien military force, the colony was now caught between two enemy fleets preparing for battle directly above their world. Commander Thrak received the news of Kalani arrival with obvious anger. His communication to the colony came with barely controlled rage in his mechanical translator. The situation has changed, he announced. Federation interference will not be tolerated. You will choose Vorthon protection immediately or face the consequences of supporting our enemies. But within hours, the Kalani fleet established its own communication link to the colony. Their message was delivered by a different type of alien voice, smoother and more sophisticated than the harsh Vorthon tone. Human settlement, the Kalani commander spoke through advanced translation systems. I am Admiral Kevin of the Federation, Expeditionary Force. We offer you protection from Vorthon aggression in exchange for your cooperation. Tae-jin found himself trying to negotiate with two different alien powers simultaneously. Both demanded exclusive loyalty and both threatened destruction if the humans chose to support their enemies. Neither side showed any interest in allowing the colony to remain neutral. What kind of cooperation do you require? Tae-jin asked the Kalani admiral. Base rights for Federation forces, came the reply. Your world will serve as a forward position for our operations in this sector. In return, we will protect you from Vorthon expansion. The offer sounded reasonable until Tae-jin considered the implications. Accepting Kalani protection would make the colony a legitimate military target for Vorthon attack. Refusing would likely result in immediate destruction by one side or the other. Both offers are essentially the same, Da-eun observed during a private meeting of the colony leadership. Submit to foreign control or face annihilation. Do we have any other options? Asked So-young. Da-eun exchanged glances with Jae-ho and several other department heads. We might have more options than either side realizes. By midday, both alien fleets had moved into combat positions around Kepler 442b. The Vorthon ships formed a defensive formation above the northern hemisphere, while the Kalani vessels established positions over the southern hemisphere. The planet sat between them like a prize waiting to be claimed. Long-range sensors detected additional ships approaching from multiple directions. Both sides were calling in reinforcements, turning the agricultural world into the focal point of a major fleet engagement. Latest count shows over 200 ships total, Minho reported grimly. This is going to be one of the largest space battles in recent galactic history. The colonists watched the military buildup with growing fear. Many families gathered their most important possessions and prepared emergency shelters, expecting their world to become a battlefield at any moment. But some colonists seemed less worried than others. Yu Jin spent the day making what she called final preparations with various technical teams. Her activities included checking communication systems, testing equipment connections, and reviewing what appeared to be detailed operational procedures. "What kind of preparations?" Hyunwoo asked when he found his daughter working with sophisticated computer equipment. "Contingency planning," Yu-jin replied without looking up from her work. "We need to be ready for rapid changes in the tactical situation." Her choice of words struck Hyunwoo as unusual for someone with agricultural training. Tactical situation sounded like military terminology rather than farming language. Jae-ho was seen conducting extensive inspections of equipment throughout the colony. His activities included testing communication links, checking power systems, and examining machinery that most colonists had assumed was used for farming operations. "Everything needs to be ready for immediate activation," he explained when questioned about his work. "We can't afford equipment failures during critical operations." Again, his language suggested military rather than agricultural concerns. Critical operations and immediate activation were terms more commonly used by combat personnel than farm equipment managers. As afternoon approached, both alien commanders demanded final decisions from the human colony. The diplomatic pressure intensified as fleet positions continued to shift into optimal combat formations. "Time is running out," Commander Thrak announced during his latest communication. "Choose Vorthon protection now, or be destroyed with our enemies." Admiral Kevin delivered a similar message from the Kalani fleet. "Federation forces are prepared to defend this world from Vorthon aggression, but we require your commitment to our cause." Tae-jin requested a meeting between all parties to discuss the situation. Both alien commanders agreed, seeing this as an opportunity to force the humans into making a choice. The meeting took place in the colony's main plaza, with representatives from both fleets landing in armed shuttles. Commander Thrak brought a squad of heavily armed Vorthon soldiers, while Admiral Kevin arrived with Kalani troops carrying advanced energy weapons. The aliens positioned themselves on opposite sides of the plaza, their forces ready for combat if negotiations failed. The human colonists gathered in the center, looking small and helpless, between two of the galaxy's most powerful military forces. "Humans of Kepler 442b, Commander Thrak began. "You have heard both offers. Choose your allegiance now." Tae-jin stood to address both alien commanders. "We appreciate both offers of protection, but we must ask, is there no possibility of peaceful coexistence? Our world has no strategic value beyond our agricultural production." "All worlds have strategic value during wartime," Admiral Kevin replied. "Neutrality is a luxury that no longer exists." "The Federation speaks truth," Commander Thrak agreed, in a rare moment of accord with his enemies. "Choose a side or be crushed between us." The two fleets in orbit continued their careful positioning, with weapons trained on each other and on the planet below. Long-range scanners detected the approach of additional reinforcements from both sides. "How long do we have to decide?" Taejin asked. "No more delays," Commander Thrak declared. "You will choose within the hour or face the consequences." "Admiral," Kevin nodded agreement. "The Federation requires your answer immediately. Our protection cannot be extended to those who refuse to commit to our cause." As the alien representatives returned to their shuttles, Da-Yun gathered the colony leadership for what appeared to be a final emergency meeting. But her demeanor suggested confidence rather than desperation. "It's time to implement our real contingency plans," she announced to the assembled group. "What contingency plans?" asked one of the newer colonists who hadn't been involved in the morning's secretive preparations. "The ones we hoped we'd never need," Jae-ho replied, checking his communication equipment. "But this situation requires a different approach than standard diplomatic solutions." So-Young activated several computer terminals and began entering complex command sequences. "All monitoring stations report ready status. Environmental systems are operating at optimal parameters." Yujin joined the technical coordination, accessing systems that seemed far beyond the capabilities of simple farming equipment. Precision. Delivery systems are online and calibrated. Resource allocation protocols are ready for implementation. Minho established communication links that appeared to connect with equipment far beyond the colony's normal infrastructure. Intelligence networks confirm target acquisition data. All tracking systems are operational. Dong Min reported from the underground facilities. Storage areas are secure and all mobile units are prepared for deployment. Logistics support is ready for extended operations. Hyunwoo listened to these reports with growing amazement. His colleagues were speaking like military commanders preparing for combat operations, rather than farmers discussing agricultural contingencies. "What's really happening here?" he asked Da-eun directly. She looked at him with an expression that mixed apology with determination. "Something we hoped you'd never need to know about. But circumstances have forced our hand." Above them, the two alien fleets completed their combat preparations. Over 400 warships now filled the space around Kepler 442b, representing enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. The peaceful agricultural world had become the center of what promised to be one of the most devastating battles in galactic history. "Final warning to human colony," came Commander Thrak's voice over the communication system. "Choose your allegiance now or be destroyed with our enemies." Da-eun walked to the colony's main communication console and activated a transmission system. That seemed far more powerful than anything the colonists had seen before. "Commander Thrak, Admiral Kevin," she began, her voice carrying across multiple communication. The first shots were fired at 1427 local time. Commander Thrak, convinced that the humans were stalling to help the colony, ordered his fleet to open fire on the Federation ships. Energy beams and missile salvos erupted across space above Kepler 442b, as the largest space battle in decades began. Da-Yun watched the orbital combat through advanced monitoring systems that revealed their true capabilities for the first time. Instead of simple weather tracking equipment, the colony possessed military-grade sensors that could track individual ships and weapon systems across the entire star system. "Both fleets are fully engaged," So-Young reported from her sensor station. "Combat intensity is at maximum levels. They're completely focused on each other." "Perfect," Da-eun replied, then activated the colony's main communication system. "All stations, this is Colonial Command. Execute Harvest Protocol immediately." The transformation began instantly. Across the colony, equipment that had appeared to be farming machinery revealed its true nature. Massive agricultural harvesters unfolded hidden weapon systems and defensive armor. Irrigation control centers emerged as sophisticated command and control facilities. Storage silos opened to reveal launch systems for advanced missiles and defensive platforms. Hyun-woo stared in amazement as the peaceful farming equipment around his house revealed hidden capabilities. The corn harvester he had operated countless times extended sensor arrays and weapon mounts that had been concealed within its agricultural housing. "What is this?" he asked Eugene, who was now wearing what looked like a military uniform instead, of farming clothes. "This is who we really are," his daughter replied, checking a control panel that had been hidden inside what appeared to be a simple irrigation controller. "We're not just farmers, Father. We're the 4th Colonial Defense Regiment, Human Space Command." The revelation hit Hyun-woo like a physical blow. "You're soldiers?" "We're all soldiers," Eugene confirmed. "Every adult in this colony is military personnel. We've been testing advanced weapons and defense systems while maintaining the appearance of a simple agricultural settlement." Around them, the colony continued its rapid transformation. Buildings that had seemed like simple research facilities revealed advanced manufacturing capabilities. Communication centers expanded into full military command posts. Even the livestock areas contained hidden vehicle bays and equipment storage. Jae-ho appeared, now dressed in military gear and carrying sophisticated weapons. "All primary systems are online," he reported to Da-yoon. "Mobile defense platforms are deploying to predetermined positions." "Orbital defense network?" Da-yoon asked. "Satellites are coming online now," So-young replied from her expanded sensor array. "Weapon systems are charging and target acquisition is complete." Above them, the battle between Vorthan and Kalani fleets intensified. Neither side paid attention to the agricultural world below, assuming it remained defenseless and irrelevant to their conflict. That assumption proved catastrophically wrong. Weather satellites that had orbited the planet for years suddenly revealed themselves as heavily armed military platforms. Concealed weapon systems activated across the surface of Kepler 442b, emerging from what had appeared to be farming facilities and research stations. "Target the command ships first," Da-eun ordered from her command center, which had transformed from a simple research facility into a sophisticated military headquarters. "Disable their coordination capabilities." The first human weapons fired without warning. Energy beams of incredible power lanced upward from the planet's surface, striking the largest ships in both alien fleets. The weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. They passed through defensive shields as if they didn't exist and disabled entire warships with single hits. Commander Thrax's flagship was the first to fall. The massive Vorthan dreadnought simply stopped working when hit by a beam from one of the agricultural research stations. Its weapons went silent, its engines failed, and its communication systems ceased to function. "What just happened?" the Vorthan commander demanded over emergency channels. "All systems are failing." Similar beams struck the Kalani command carrier and 3 of their heavy cruisers. Admiral Kevin's fleet found itself in the same situation. Their most powerful ships were suddenly defenseless and drifting. "Impossible!" Admiral Kevin broadcast on open channels. "No known weapons can penetrate our defensive systems." Minho, now revealed as the colony's intelligence officer, smiled grimly as he coordinated the attack. "They don't know about quantum disruption fields. Human technology has advanced far beyond what the galaxy realizes." The orbital defense satellites joined the attack, revealing weapon systems that had been hidden for years. Instead of weather monitoring equipment, they carried weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The agricultural monitoring network was actually one of the most sophisticated military installations in human space. Eugene piloted what had appeared to be a simple farming aircraft, but was actually an advanced fighter craft. The vehicle's agricultural disguise fell away to reveal stealth systems, advanced weapons, and capabilities that far exceeded anything in the alien fleets. Engaging enemy fighters, she reported over military communication channels. Systems are performing within optimal parameters. Her crop-dusting aircraft moved with impossible speed and agility, destroying alien fighters faster than they could respond. The sophisticated pilot training she had received at Earth's Agricultural Academy was revealed to be advanced military flight school. Dongmin coordinated the deployment of ground-based mobile units that emerged from underground storage facilities. Instead of farming equipment, these were advanced military vehicles designed for planetary defense and space combat support. All mobile units deployed, he reported. Automated defense systems are engaging assigned targets. The hidden weapons proved devastatingly effective. Human technology had advanced far beyond what the galaxy's major powers possessed, and the weapons had been tested and refined during years of supposed agricultural research. Within minutes, both alien fleets found themselves helpless against weapons they couldn't understand or defend against. Ships that had been capable of destroying planets were reduced to drifting hulks by technology that seemed like magic. How is this possible? Commander, Thrak demanded over emergency communication channels. Intelligence reports indicated this was a defenseless agricultural colony. Dae-Yun responded from her command center, her voice now carrying the authority of a senior military officer rather than a simple research coordinator. Your intelligence was designed to reach that conclusion, she replied calmly. We've spent 5 years perfecting the art of appearing defenseless while developing the most advanced weapons in human space. The battle, if it could be called that, was effectively over. Both alien fleets had lost their command ships and most of their heavy combat vessels. The remaining ships found themselves surrounded by human weapons platforms that had appeared from seemingly nowhere. This is impossible, Admiral Kevin repeated, his voice showing signs of panic. Our sensors detected only agricultural equipment and research facilities. Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect, So Young replied from her sensor station. Holographic camouflage and signal manipulation have been perfected to make military installations appear to be farming equipment. Hyun-woo began to understand the full scope of what had been hidden from him. Everything here is fake? Not fake, Da-Yun corrected. We really do grow crops and conduct agricultural research. But that was never our primary mission. We're a military research and development facility disguised as a farming colony. The corn, the vegetables, our daily life? All real, Eugene assured her father, but also perfect cover for testing advanced weapons and defense systems. Every piece of farming equipment has been designed with dual purposes. The revelation explained everything that had seemed strange about the colony. The sophisticated equipment, the advanced communication systems, the knowledge and capabilities that seemed beyond what farmers should possess, it was all part of an elaborate deception. How long have you known? Hyun-woo asked his wife. Gina looked apologetic but determined. Since before we came here. We're all military personnel, Hyun-woo. You, me, everyone in the colony. We volunteered for this assignment. But I don't remember any military training. Memory modification, Da-Won explained gently. Some personnel had their military memories suppressed to help maintain the agricultural cover story. Your farming knowledge and personality are real, but your military background was temporarily hidden. The psychological shock of the revelation was almost as stunning as the military demonstration. Hyun-woo realized that everything he thought he knew about his life and identity had been carefully constructed to maintain an elaborate deception. Above them, the alien fleets remained disabled and helpless. The most powerful military forces in the galaxy had been neutralized by a colony they had dismissed as irrelevant farmers. What happens now? Commander Thrak asked over communication channels, his voice stripped of its earlier arrogance. Da-Yun considered the question while monitoring the tactical situation. Now we discuss new arrangements for this region of space. The galaxy's balance of power just changed dramatically. The systematic destruction of both alien fleets began at 1431 and ended at 1440, lasting exactly 9 minutes and 37 seconds. Da-Un coordinated the operation from her command center while monitoring systems tracked every shot, every disabled ship, and every moment of the engagement. Phase 1 complete, So-Young reported from her sensor station. All command vessels have been neutralized. Enemy fleet coordination is completely disrupted. The initial strikes had targeted the most important ships in both fleets, command carriers, heavy cruisers, and communication vessels. The quantum disruption weapons passed through alien defensive shields and disabled entire ships by scrambling their electronic systems at the molecular level. Vorthon fleet is requesting immediate ceasefire, Minho announced from his communication station. Commander Thrak is asking for terms of surrender. Kalani Admiral is making similar requests, added his assistant. Both fleets have stopped all offensive operations. But Da-Un was not ready to end the demonstration. The galaxy needed to understand the full extent of human capabilities, and both alien powers needed to be completely convinced of their helplessness. Continue to Phase 2, she ordered. Disable all remaining heavy combat vessels. Yu-Jin and her squadron of disguised fighter craft continued their systematic destruction of alien fighters and small combat ships. What had appeared to be agricultural aircraft revealed capabilities that far exceeded anything in the enemy fleets. Engaging Vorthon assault fighters, Yu-Jin reported over military channels. 12 targets eliminated, no human casualties. Her aircraft moved with impossible speed and agility, using stealth systems and weapons that the aliens couldn't track or defend against. The crop-dusting equipment included advanced targeting systems and energy weapons that destroyed enemy fighters in single shots. Kilani interceptors neutralized, reported another pilot. Their ships can't match our acceleration or maneuverability. The human pilots had trained for years in these advanced aircraft, while maintaining the appearance of simple agricultural workers. Their flight training at Earth's military academies had been disguised as education in precision farming techniques and agricultural aviation. On the planet's surface, mobile defense platforms emerged from underground facilities and revealed their true capabilities. Dongmin coordinated their deployment with the precision of an experienced military commander. All mobile units are in position, he reported. Automated defense systems are engaging assigned targets with maximum efficiency. The key mobile units looked like farming equipment but carried weapons powerful enough to destroy spaceships. Massive harvesters revealed missile launch systems and energy weapons. Irrigation systems became mobile command centers coordinating orbital strikes. Target the Vorthon dreadnought in Sector 7, Da-Un ordered, watching the tactical display. Use precision strike to disable engines only. A beam of coherent energy lanced upward from what appeared to be a grain storage facility. The weapon struck the massive Vorthon warship with surgical precision, destroying its engine systems while leaving the crew compartments intact. Direct hit, So Young confirmed. Target is disabled but intact. No crew casualties detected. This level of precision amazed even the human operators. The weapons had been designed to disable rather than destroy, allowing for devastating military effects without unnecessary loss of life. The orbital defense satellites continued their systematic work, revealing capabilities that shocked both alien fleets. What had appeared to be weather monitoring equipment included some of the most advanced weapons in human space. Satellite network reports all primary targets neutralized, Minho announced. Both fleets have lost over 70% of their combat capability. Time elapsed since combat began, Da-Un asked. 6 minutes, 43 seconds, So Young replied, checking her chronometer. The speed of the human victory was as stunning as its completeness. Two of the galaxy's most powerful military forces had been reduced to helpless debris in less than 7 minutes. J-Ho coordinated ground-based operations with the efficiency of a veteran military engineer. The equipment he had maintained for years revealed its true purpose as the most sophisticated planetary defense system ever constructed. All ground installations report optimal performance, he announced. Defensive coverage is complete across the entire planetary surface. The farming equipment included weapons that could track and destroy targets anywhere in the star system. Irrigation controllers were actually targeting computers for orbital weapons. Storage silos contained missiles capable of intercepting enemy ships at incredible distances. Kalani reinforcements detected at system edge, Minho warned. 15 additional ships approaching at maximum speed. Intercept and disable, Da-Un ordered without hesitation. Use long-range orbital platforms. Weapons hidden throughout the star system activated for the first time. What had appeared to be asteroid mining operations and deep space monitoring stations revealed themselves as advanced military installations. The incoming Kalani ships found themselves under attack from weapons they couldn't see or locate. Their ships were disabled one by one as they tried to reach the main battle area. Kalani reinforcements neutralized, So Young reported. All ships disabled. No escape from the system possible. Vorthon reinforcements? Da-Un asked. Detected and engaged, Minho replied. 22 ships disabled before reaching combat range. The human defense network extended far beyond the immediate planetary area. The entire star system had been quietly militarized during the 5 years of supposed agricultural development. Eugene fighter squadron completed their systematic destruction of remaining enemy combat craft. The alien pilots found themselves completely outmatched by technology and training they couldn't comprehend. All enemy fighters neutralized, Eugene reported. Human casualties, 0. Equipment damage, minimal. The final phase of the operation targeted support vessels and supply ships. These ships posed no immediate threat, but needed to be disabled to prevent any possibility of enemy recovery or escape. Support vessels? Da-Un asked. All disabled, Dongmin confirmed. Both fleets are completely helpless. They cannot fight, flee, or call for additional assistance. The human weapons had been calibrated for maximum psychological impact with minimum loss of life. Instead of destroying the alien ships, they disabled them completely while leaving crews alive to witness and report what had happened. Total time elapsed? Da-Un requested. 9 minutes, 37 seconds, So Young announced. The battle was over. 2 fleets totaling over 400 warships had been completely neutralized by what the galaxy had believed was a defenseless agricultural colony. Damage assessment? Da-un asked. Human casualties, 0, Jeho reported. Equipment damage, negligible. All systems operating at optimal levels. Enemy casualties? Minimal, Minho replied after scanning the disabled ships. Estimated crew casualties less than 2%. Most ships are intact but completely disabled. The precision of the human victory was as impressive as its speed. Advanced weapons had neutralized entire fleets while causing minimal loss of life among the alien crews. Communication from both fleet commanders, Minho announced. They're requesting immediate negotiations. Both alien commanders had watched their forces become helpless in less than 10 minutes. Ships that could destroy planets had been reduced to drifting hulks by weapons they couldn't understand or defend against. Commander Thrak is asking what kind of weapons we used, Minho added. Admiral Kevin wants to know if we represent the full extent of human military capability. Da-un smiled grimly as she considered how to respond. The demonstration had achieved its purpose. Both alien powers now understood that humans possessed military capabilities far beyond what anyone had suspected. Tell them we're ready to discuss new diplomatic arrangements, she ordered. But first, they need to understand exactly what just happened here. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted dramatically in less than 10 minutes. The two most powerful military forces in known space had been humbled by a species they had considered insignificant. Prepare detailed reports for Earth Command, Da-un instructed her staff. They'll want complete analysis of weapons performance and enemy capabilities. The test of human military technology had exceeded all expectations. Years of secret development and training had produced weapons and tactics that could neutralize any known threat. What's our next move? Jeho asked. Now we find out if the galaxy is ready to accept a new reality, Da-un replied, watching the disabled alien fleets drift helplessly in orbit. Humans are no longer the minor species everyone assumed we were. 3 days after the battle, Hyunwoo found himself tending to real corn plants, while disabled alien warships drifted overhead like fallen stars. His memories had been restored, revealing years of military training that had been carefully hidden beneath his farming knowledge. The psychological adjustment was difficult, but the work in the fields helped him process the revelation. The corn really is growing well, he told Gina, as they worked together in their garden. That part wasn't fake. His wife smiled, her own memories now complete. We always were farmers, Hyunwoo. We just happened to be highly trained soldiers. 2. The crops and the research were real. They just served multiple purposes. Around them, the colony continued its dual existence. Medical teams treated injured alien crew members with the same care they had once given to sick livestock. The medical center, while disguised as a simple farming facility, contained some of the most advanced healing technology in human space. How? Are our guests? Dae-yun asked Dr. Kang, the colony's chief medical officer, during the morning briefing. All major injuries have been treated, he replied. The Vorthan and Kalani wounded are recovering well. Their injuries were mostly from ship systems failures rather than direct weapon damage. The precision of the human weapons had been remarkable. Despite completely disabling over 400 warships, the actual casualties among alien crew members numbered fewer than 300 across both fleets. Most injuries had occurred when ship systems failed rather than from direct weapon effects. Representatives from dozens of species began arriving within the week, their ships carefully escorted by human defense platforms that no longer bothered to hide their military nature. The galactic community reeled from news that humans possessed technology capable of neutralizing the two most powerful military forces in known space. Tai Jin, now revealed as a senior diplomatic officer, managed the flood of requests for meetings, trade agreements, and defensive pacts. His simple administrator's office had been expanded into a full diplomatic complex. The Rigelian Consortium wants to discuss technology sharing agreements, he reported to Daun. The Centauri Federation is offering a formal alliance. The Andromedan Trade Council wants to establish permanent diplomatic relations. And the smaller species? Daun asked. They're requesting protection from Vorthan and Kalani expansion, Tai Jin replied. Apparently, both empires have been pressuring independent worlds to choose sides in their war. The war between the Vorthan Empire and Kalani Federation had ended within hours of their defeat at Kepler 442b. Both sides found themselves too devastated and demoralized to continue fighting each other. The revelation of human military superiority had fundamentally changed the galactic balance of power. Commander Thrak spent his recovery time in the colony's detention facility, which had been disguised as equipment storage, but was actually a sophisticated holding area for prisoners of war. His proud warrior's demeanor had been replaced by thoughtful consideration of his new circumstances. "I have a question for your commander," he told his human guard during one of his daily interrogations. "What kind of question?" asked the guard, who was actually a military intelligence specialist. "How long have humans possessed these weapons?" Thrak asked. "Our intelligence networks found no evidence of advanced military development." The guard smiled. "That was the point. We've been developing these capabilities for over 20 years while maintaining the appearance of a minor agricultural species. Admiral Kevin, recovering in a separate facility, had reached similar conclusions about human deception capabilities. Her discussions with human interrogators revealed the sophisticated intelligence operations that had hidden humanity's true capabilities. "Your species is remarkably skilled at misdirection," she admitted during one session. "We detected farming colonies, research stations, and commercial activities, but found no evidence of military development." "Because there was no evidence to find," replied her interrogator. "Every military installation was disguised as civilian infrastructure. Every weapon system appeared to be farming or research equipment. Yu Jin had returned to her dual role as agricultural specialist and fighter pilot. Her aircraft, now openly revealed as an advanced military fighter, sat alongside genuine farming equipment in the colony's vehicle bays. "I really did study agriculture," she explained to her father while working on the fighter's weapon systems. "But I also trained as a combat pilot. Both educations were necessary for the mission." "How many other colonies like this exist?" Hyun-woo asked. "I can't give you exact numbers," Yu Jin replied. "But Earth has been establishing these dual-purpose installations throughout human space. We're not the only farming colony with hidden military capabilities." The revelation suggested that human military strength extended far beyond what had been demonstrated at Kepler 442b. If multiple agricultural colonies possessed similar hidden weapons, then humanity's actual military power was vastly greater than anyone had suspected. So Young continued her work as both a research scientist and military sensor specialist. Her laboratories produced genuine agricultural improvements, while also developing advanced military technology. "The crop enhancement research has been very successful," she reported during a staff meeting. "But the military applications have been even more impressive. We've developed sensors that can track individual ships across multiple star systems." "And the concealment technology?" Da-Yun asked. "Perfect," So Young replied. "No alien species has sensors capable of detecting our camouflaged installations. They see exactly what we want them to see." Minho established communication links with similar facilities throughout human space, coordinating intelligence and defense activities that had been hidden for years. The communications network extended far beyond simple farming colony contacts. Latest reports from other installations, he announced during the morning briefing. Project Harvest was successful beyond all expectations. Every test site performed optimally. Project Harvest? Hyunwoo asked. The overall program to test concealed military installations, Daun explained. We've been testing different approaches to hidden defense systems across dozens of worlds. The scope of human military deception was staggering. While the galaxy focused on obvious military installations and known fleet movements, humans had quietly built a hidden network of advanced weapons disguised as peaceful civilian infrastructure. J-Ho supervised the construction of the colony's first openly acknowledged military base. The facility would serve as a visible reminder of human capabilities while also providing conventional military support for the region. Construction timeline? Dayun asked. 6 months for basic facilities, J-Ho replied. But we already have all the equipment we need. Most of it just needs to be moved from underground storage and revealed. The construction was largely a matter of revealing capabilities that had always existed. The underground facilities contained enough military equipment to outfit a conventional military base several times over. Dongmin managed the logistics of feeding and caring for thousands of alien prisoners while also coordinating with arriving diplomatic missions. His skills in resource management proved equally applicable to military and civilian operations. Prisoner care is proceeding smoothly, he reported. Medical treatment is complete and we're providing standard accommodations. Several prisoners have requested to speak with human commanders about potential cooperation agreements. Many alien crew members had been impressed by the quality of treatment they received as prisoners. Instead of the harsh conditions they expected from victorious enemies, they found themselves receiving excellent medical care and respectful treatment. As months passed, the galactic community adjusted to the new reality of human military power. Trade relationships shifted dramatically, as species that had previously ignored humans now competed for favorable agreements. The agricultural products from Kepler 442b became highly sought after, not just for their quality, but as symbols of connection to humanity's hidden military network. Grain shipments are now escorted by alien military vessels, Hyunwoo observed with amusement as he watched Rigelian cruisers provide protection for human cargo ships. They're more concerned about our safety than we are. The irony was not lost on the colonists. Species that had once dismissed human agricultural products as insignificant now treated every shipment as strategically important cargo, requiring maximum protection. Earth Command finally revealed the full scope of Project Harvest in a classified briefing to allied species. Over 40 human colonies possessed similar hidden military capabilities, creating a defensive network that extended throughout human space and beyond. We never intended to use these weapons aggressively, Da-Yun explained to a gathering of alien ambassadors. But the galaxy proved that peaceful species need protection from those who would exploit their apparent weakness. Commander Thrak, now serving as an informal advisor on Vorthon military capabilities, had developed a grudging respect for human strategic thinking. Your species learned lessons that took us centuries to understand, he admitted during one of his regular discussions with the colony leadership. Appearing weak while remaining strong is perhaps the highest form of military art. Admiral Caven had reached similar conclusions about human strategic philosophy. Her